the meeting is in order. So first, we'll do introductions. So we have headsets available for interpretation if anyone needs it. I don't see Yvonne. Maybe she's running a little bit. Okay, she's running a little bit late, so bear with us as we figure out our interpretation. As soon as she arrives, I'll let you guys know, and those who need headsets can get with Yvonne. She'll provide those. So thank you everyone for coming. I just want to cover a little bit of microphone etiquette from our last meeting. So please make sure that you use the microphone because we do record these meetings and put them on YouTube. So a cheat hack way of using microphone, putting your thumb on your chin, and then it goes with you whenever you're looking around the room. Make sure you find a good place for the microphone so you're not talking like this the whole time at your belly button. Because we want to be able to hear you later. So just a reminder for everyone, when you come up here, when you give a comment, please use the microphone. And then we'll move along to our invite to membership, and I'll call on our board member, Orlando Orangia, to do that invite.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. If anyone's interested in being a member with Westside Council, there's forms in the back, $35 donation. You guys are already here. You guys get involved. You do your part. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so first up for our standing reports, we have the patrol watch report. Commander Hurd is actually not in attendance tonight. I'm so sorry, I've already forgotten your name. There you go. Thanks very much.
Thank you. What is this, thumb, right? For those of you that didn't grab a handout, they're back in the resource table. Real quick, I'll go over the last 28 days. We've had 2 commercial burglaries, 0 residential burglaries, 0 robberies, 5 thefts, 0 aggravated assaults, 4 stolen vehicles, and 6 thefts from vehicles. On that same list is general areas of where it occurred, half of those being in the downtown area. The only other thing I could think of that we would like to bring up is, as you've probably seen, the e-bikes and bicyclists lately. Just a reminder, bicyclists and e-bikes have to follow the same rules of the road as a vehicle. Obviously, for safety reasons, some of these bikes go upwards of 25 miles an hour. Other than that, was there anything else that I needed to cover? I don't have I do apologize. Usually Corporal Jackson would be coming in for Commander Hurd, but he also had to do, he's doing some training and some classes. So I don't have those numbers, and from personal experience from responding to them, they're still high. I guarantee they're high. So I don't have those numbers. I'm sorry. Jackson covered everything. Oh, shoot.
But he didn't tell us when Commander Hurd is coming back. We missed her.
I want to disclose her exact schedule, but she has several more Wednesdays of classes, so it shouldn't be too much longer. Teaching, yes. Thank you.
Now you're free. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we'll have City of Ventura updates. Council member Liz Campos, if you'd like to take the stage.
If you haven't seen it already on the news, the City of Ventura has X Games coming in the summer. I don't think that this year we'll make millions of dollars with X Games, but because it'll be broadcast internationally, it should start building up the tourism that we've lost since the Thomas Fire and COVID, particularly international tourism. So that was announced today. So that's probably the biggest news. Big news for the West Side is that we have a partner that's come in to work with Parks and Rec to set up a youth center in the West Park Community Center during summertime, so that the young people in the community, I believe ages 5 to 16, will have space to take part in all kinds of activities. The person in charge is also a music producer. So he wants to teach the kids how to produce their own records and how to focus their practices when they're playing music. And there's a lot of other activities that they'll do. I think at that point, pickleball will be kicked out of the community center outside. City council meetings continue. We're in the budget processes right now. And so they may look like they're boring, but there is a lot going on at the meetings. So I encourage anyone to look at the agendas. And if there's anything that you feel strongly about, please email or come and speak to city council about those items. And that's about what I'm going to tell you today, because Marco has a full report. Any questions? Okay, looks like a quiet meeting. When is which of those things? You said when is? It won't start until school is completely finished, but there's still a little bit of negotiating going on about insurance and things. So probably right at the beginning of June. Helga, just a moment. If you speak into the microphone, it'll get picked up on the Zoom recording and the people at home can hear it. Thank you.
I didn't know they wanted for the recording. Okay. So I have a lot of jump ropes, like 20 when I was teaching PE. So I want to donate those for them. That's a good activity, jump roping.
If you don't want to hang on to them,
No,
you can drop them off at the senior center. I guarantee you the seniors will not be jumping, but it's also under Parks and Rec, and they can give them to the right people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Liz, I want to say, I think we owe the city council a congratulations for that good news for the center that's being developed for the young people. And so a little clap from me.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. It isn't finished yet, but I'm determined it's going to be done. We need these activities.
So, when did, I'm just trying to say, because it sounds like it's not going to be profitable. This X Games coming the first year or two. It's coming back, sounds like.
I'm sorry, what is your question?
X Games is not going to be profitable the first year that comes back or two, or when was it profitable, I guess I would say.
Well, there's all different layers of it. So the first year, because we have to do a lot of preparation work, like cleaning up on the fairgrounds, because it's going to be on television and ESPN will be here filming, we're really going to have to paint and clean the fairgrounds. That's going to cost city money. And so it's going to even out with what we get from the X Games themselves for the venue. And so there'll be some hotel transit occupancy tax coming in. That won't be huge because the first year they're giving the X Games people a good rate. The other thing that we may be able to get a little profit on this year, but it can expand, is the media. It's, the international presentation of the X Games on ESPN and a couple of the other cable stations also is controlled by the X Games this year. As we move along with it, we'll be able to do more with the media and contracting different space. It also isn't the entire X Games here. It's only the last, I think, 10 days. And the reason for that is because they have to know that we're going to be able to work together. So it really is a trial program.
Yeah, to help what you're saying there, they started in San Diego, they're going to go to Los Angeles, and the finals with all the gold medal events are in Ventura. That's going to help the tourism.
Exactly. And just people around the world and around the country seeing Ventura on television, how beautiful it is also, we believe, going to help our tourism. And that's where money will start coming in. Any more? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, thank you, Helen and Marco. Oh, there is one?
All right, so City of Ventura news. So the City of Ventura's communications department gives me this slide every month. For the last few months, they've wanted to advertise the summer activity guide. I'm sure you guys have heard this if you've been to our previous meetings. You still have time to sign up. If there's any activities you want to do, tennis, golf, the aquatic center to get swim lessons, you know, for yourself or for your kids, anyone else you might know. Over 300 classes, so plenty of things to choose from there. New, there's English language classes for all levels, ages 50 plus over in the Ventura Avenue Adult Center. You can see the number right there, 805-289-1744. So if you're interested in taking English classes, the city encourages you to sign up. Pickleball at West Park. Now, I had to look into this one a bit more because, you know, sometimes things don't always get moving as quickly as you think. This is the new thing in the city of Ventura, pickleball. Everyone's talking about it. And so when I heard there was pickleball at West Park, I'm like, all right, let's go check this out. I haven't personally tried it out yet. But so if you're a pickleball enthusiast, you're already doing it. It's not outdoor pickleball, so you might be a little bit disappointed. But if you're new to it like myself and you just want to go try it out, see what the schematics of it is, encourage you to go check it out. It's inside the West Park Community Center after the after school program at 6 p.m. You can go ahead and call this number you see on the screen here, 805-648-1895 to register if you're interested. The State of the City, the annual State of the City by our mayor is happening at 2 different times. Normally it's once in the morning. This time it's happening twice. On Thursday, May 25th in the morning at 7:30. That's a Chamber of Commerce event. And this one that they're advertising in the evening, free to the public at 6 p.m. at the Museum of Ventura County. So if you want to go check out what the State of the City is that our mayor, Joe Schrader, has to say, here's a link. You can go ahead and register for free for this on the city's website. Yeah, and Spanish interpretation is also available. Last, we have the VPD Explorer program. So applications open to Ventura teens, ages 14 to 18. Let's go ahead and go to that city link. So if you're interested in learning about police operations, getting involved, having a better relationship with your city police, and just learning more, the city encourages you to apply. Teens ages 14 to 18 enrolled in high school. You have the opportunity to earn firsthand knowledge of the challenges, duties, complexities, and responsibilities that our police officers go through. Just reading straight off of it, while developing valuable career, leadership, social, and life skills found in serving their community. Do you have any questions? Oh, yeah, anyone on Zoom? All right, thank you.
We also have the Explorer brochures in the back if you guys want to walk out with some information as well. Some furniture rearranging. Okay, so next up we'll have Treasurer Kay Zerbies with our treasurer's report.
Okay, right now we are looking at $1,776.33. In case somebody wants to put some more in. I'm always looking for a handout. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll do just a very small plug for some of the where these donations go. I don't know if you guys have wandered into City Hall at some point in time, but if you do, you'll notice that at least one or two of your Westside Community Council board members are always in attendance. We take note of items that are coming up and we bring them to your attention when we can during general meetings. We'll post on Facebook about what's going on. Pete, our board member, was actually instrumental in getting the street lights upgraded. There's a demo happening. I don't think the demo is the right word because they're here to stay. But when you look down the avenue, you can notice which street lights are new. We have a lot of projects that are coming up that we're going to bring to your attention that will be happening in our community. Last month, we shared some information about overdose prevention, and we're working on grant applications so we can continue working on events and activities that will benefit our community members. So that's just a small portion of what we do here at the WCC and what your donations go towards. But that being said, I will pass it over to Pete Freeman, who is our Secretary and Public Works Liaison for the GPAC report.
I'm gonna just interrupt Pete really quick. If anybody lost a cell phone, someone turned in a cell phone in the back. If anyone lost a cell phone, it's right here in the back.
Give everybody a second to go through their panic check. No, I got it. Okay. Okay, GPAC, we met the end of last month. We were still on the land use element, and we're finally wrapping that up. And I think everybody's kind of happy about that. We discussed the 5 Points area, the mall, Arundel, which is the area behind like Target on the Main Street Target down there, all the industrial area, and the Johnson Drive area. We did a little bit different format this month. Instead of doing straw polls where we all raised our hands, the city's going to send us a survey to see what we think of each area and where it should go. We haven't got the survey yet, but I did email the city today asking what's going to happen. Once we do the survey, the general plan team, the city, and the consultant will put together a land use presentation that'll come back to the GPAC, and then after it goes back to the GPAC and we have our say, then it'll go out to the public at different times in different ways for public comment. And then lastly, the housing element is currently being sent back to the state looking for approval. So there's a comment period on the housing element, which is basically where are we going to allow housing and what areas are there set aside for housing for the next 8 years. So that is on the city website if anybody would like to comment. So that's pretty much that. Oh, sorry, any questions?
I'm just wondering who is in charge of fixing the potholes, because it's becoming real dangerous, especially going through Midtown, so going to the beach every day. It's becoming dangerous. Who is in charge of it?
That would be the city public works department. And they actually had a presentation at a couple city council meetings ago that it's all over town. It's not just here. Just be aware, because everybody I talked to in town, you guys probably hear it too, complains about the potholes. They are filling them. I agree with you that they're bad. If you go on the city website, on the public works page, last month I put the number up there for the pothole hotline. I don't know it offhand. I can look it up and get it to you. But there is a pothole hotline and you call in and they'll ask you where the pothole is, what street and everything else. And I would just say, just keep turning them in. But the city is more than aware that there are a lot of potholes and the public's not real happy. Jeanette.
My question is, what is the problem? I mean, every other town in the world, they have a card with fixing stuff, material, and they fix the potholes. Why are we not doing this?
Well, they are fixing a lot of potholes to the city's defense. I want to say, what was it, like over 500 potholes were filled after the winter? Yeah, 700 after the winter storms. But the problem is you have to be careful with when you're pouring, because you can't pour concrete. I just know this because I'm an environmental consultant, but you can't pour concrete when rain is coming. And you kind of have to be targeted in the way that we're spreading around our resources. So when it rains, more potholes happen, and then the storm passes through, and then there's another storm. It's just, you got to kind of find the right time, because we can't, pour wet concrete in the street, fill it, or whichever aggregate. And then the rain comes through. That's not very good for the environment. But to the city's defense, they have been pretty good about filling potholes. But like Pete said, it's a pretty widespread issue. And the way we can help as community members is calling the pothole line or going online and reporting them when you see them. And then I would suggest also following up with Public Works, just to make sure they're aware and it's on their radar as well.
Well, you're probably the person I need to ask this question of.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that is, I am really concerned how when we had all of these rivers coming in of water, all over the city, our paving fell apart. It just fell apart everywhere. And I don't know if it's because it was really old, but my suspicious part of me thinks that they didn't use the right materials in the first place, because we never get enough rain that we really need that strong of materials. And I think this time that's got to be changed, because we don't know what's coming for us in terms of wet weather. So do you know whether there are different grades of material that can be used, some of which will resist heavy rains more than others?
It's, when it comes to public right of ways, it's pretty, like, you could pull a cross section of road and they'll tell you down to the compaction level how you're supposed to design and build the road. So the specifications are pretty concrete. Private properties, yes, you can use different materials, but ultimately for something durable that's getting all of these cars, traffic, active transportation as well, that's just it kind of is what it is. The trend in the materials industry is going towards low greenhouse gas or global warming potential as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the trade-off is, if that compromises like the durability or strength of the raw materials that we use. I can do a little bit of research. I work with a lot of geologists and follow up on that answer, but at this point, I know that the trend is going towards sustainability, and I know the durability aspect is it's everywhere. I don't think there's a way to get us out of it. Quite frankly, it's a bad answer.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
wanted that to be put out there for
Yeah.
people to be thinking of, and what materials can be used. And if you're not using materials that are going to be as sustainable or as durable as they were, then you have to program getting out there and redoing the streets more frequently.
It's definitely a balance. If we were for example, if we were to put in pervious roads, right, that drink water, you can't have emergency vehicles on there.
Oh, well.
Because it has to be all weather certified, which means in torrential downpour, a fire truck has to be able to drive on that road safely. And like the permeable pavement, less likely to withstand that kind of impacts. But there is the trade-off of sustainability. So
just
maybe in some areas, also the soil type matters. So it's pretty, the complexity is there.
Okay, I just know I was just left with my mouth open the way our streets completely collapsed
I
around
would
us.
love to take that on as a science project, let me tell you. Okay, so that thumbs up our standing reports, unless, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, Maria.
¿Cómo se llama usted?
Janet,
Usted está hablando acerca de los huecos y fuimos a una junta aquí en el City Hall y yo tuve que hablar para estos arreglos de las calles.
Gracias. Jeanette,
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Jeanette, so just speaking to the issue about the potholes and how they fix them, I went to a presentation at the city and I needed to speak about the same issue.
Y hay una cierta cantidad de dinero que se les va a dar al que se está encargando de todas estas calles que tienen que arreglar. Y lo que yo me enfoqué es que tienen que fijarse en la avenida porque en el mapa tenían todas las áreas de Ventura menos la avenida. Y esa fue mi pregunta y creo que aquí está Liz Campos para que ella les pueda asegurar de que yo les dije que en el mapa no aparecía la avenida.
So one of the main issues at the city that we wanted to bring up, that I wanted to bring up, is that when you look at the geographical maps to indicate the potholes throughout the city, the avenue wasn't even there, or it wasn't represented with potholes.
Tengo 27 años de ser propietaria en las calles de la Ramona y el callejón que está aquí en el car wash. Y el callejón está con unos hoyos profundos que cada vez que pasa, y también vive la señora que ahí. Cada vez que pasamos por ahí, los carros pegan. Y vino uno de los representantes de la ciudad ese día conmigo después de la junta y vieron las calles, vieron el callejón y dijeron que es donde se van a encargar ahora, que si les dan ese dinero, va a ser uno de los lugares principales que van a arreglar.
I have been a property owner for over 25 years, to include on Ramona Street. And as many of you know, the alleys, specifically that alley behind Ramona Street, Kay, our treasurer, lives there. She's on that same street. Those potholes are so profound that it's actually a hazard. It hits the bottoms of our cars. Ms. Kay is indicating they're at least 1.5 feet deep. And so that was one of the issues that we raised at the city. They promised if they got these extra funds, they would concentrate on fixing these really hazardous deep potholes on the west end, specifically the alley behind Ramona.
Especialmente en la avenida, toda la calle necesitamos arreglos y necesitamos que estemos en la junta porque como propietarios pagamos taxis y tenemos derecho a que nos vengan y nos arreglan nuestra comunidad, especialmente esta área porque por años nunca las han arreglado. Pero necesitamos que vayan a apoyarnos.
And I just want to say again that it's the avenue, the entire avenue needs to be fixed. For years, we were ignored. We weren't represented and we need attention here. The potholes do need to get fixed.
¿Cuál es la junta? ¿A qué junta debemos asistir para recordarles que es muy importante tener la avenida arregladas?
Cuando tenemos la agenda por Liz, porque creo que esa cantidad que se le va a dar al función de relaciones públicas o del que se encarga de todos los proyectos, de las banquetas y calles, creo que en junio se sabe cuánta cantidad se les va a dar a ellos para arreglar las calles.
Ya, y ya la avenida está en la lista de reparaciones o va a ser agregada si hay suficiente dinero. Is the avenue already on the list for repairs or is it just going to be added if there's enough money?
Okay, and just to add what she responded,
Yeah.
and in the previous, I felt to say that, she says we're taxpayers on the avenue also. And we're not being represented and we're not being given the same services that other parts of the city have been. And also,
las banquetas donde están las tapaderas del gas y agua, especialmente por nuestra calle, están quebradas. Entonces, cada niño que pasa o cada persona que pasa se cae. No es culpa de nosotros como dueños de la casa, es problema la ciudad. y uno de los ingenieros vino y anduvo caminando conmigo y ya fueron, especialmente afuera de la casa donde yo rento, ya pusieron y vinieron y van a tapar esos hoyos. Pero necesitamos estarles forzando para que ellos vengan y miren todos los daños que tiene toda esta calle, especialmente la avenida.
I have a recommendation, actually, since we have a council member here who, will represent us. Maybe we can request that Liz partner with Phil Nelson, who's the Public Works Director, to make sure the alleyway in question is included. Because as Liz mentioned, it is budget time. Sorry, Councilmember Campos mentioned, it is budget time. And that is one of the items. I know that there's a capital improvement program, but I think maybe to clarify or see if we can get more money on our budget for those kind of updates. Oh, and Measure O money, looking. Oof. Okay, so also our board member, Marco Cuevas, another reason why the Westside board stands strong. He's on the Measure O committee and they're having their budget meeting soon. So Tuesday at 5:30. So please participate in these meetings and voice your concerns. City Hall, what room is it in, Marco? Community meeting room, same room that we have our general plan meetings in. Oh, let me, wait 1 second for the mic. Thank you.
There was a special meeting that was held, which I believe it was the meeting that Maria attended.
Right.
And it was quite deficient. The setup of the maps and the questioning
Oh, okay.
did not include the West Side.
Oh, okay.
And that was after we had already spoken publicly in city council. I spoke and also some other members of the community spoke, not just about the need for repair on the West Side, but specifically the alley behind Maria and Kay's house. There's many homeowners there that are suffering. And there's 5 alleys on the avenue that were repaired.
Oh, okay.
And that alley is so egregious that last year my wheelchair was injured trying to roll there.
Yeah.
You know, it flipped over twice. It's
Oh my
very
gosh.
terrible.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that alley was ignored.
Hmm.
So I would encourage anyone here from the West Side to email the entire city council, including the interim city manager and including Phil Nelson. If you need their email addresses, I'll give them to you, but it's all basically the same for us. And maybe we can get more action. I'll keep pushing. I bring it up at almost every meeting.
Yeah, we definitely make Liz's job a lot easier when we show up to back her up when she's speaking from the dais. So, thank you for that. Oh, sorry, Helga had one comment.
It's another issue that is really detrimental. Also, I'm a paying customer of so-called of the city and paying property taxes, a lot of it. There is a feral cat population that is not being attended to. And I had 11 cats on my property running about day and night. And there's only one person who can help you. And she runs around Camarillo to take kids. And that is one person only. And there is no help. And she has no help. She has only seconds to talk to you. She said, Jamie, that they approached the city to get somebody in charge of this feral cat and wildlife. I had up to 30 opossums and raccoons and attacking the cats and all this stuff. There's nobody in charge here. Where does our money go to? Where does my money go to? For what services as a property owner?
I actually have a picture I can share with you after the meeting that shows you exactly where your property taxes go. I took a picture from the last city council meeting. So I can send that to you as well. Okay, I think that about wraps up our GPAC discussion. We're going to move on to old business. Interpretation services continue at City Hall. So we now have our agendas in Spanish. as well. Before it was just English. So we're extending, we've already extended our interpretation services for another 6 months. Our goal on the west side is to keep them permanently, but we'll need to make sure that folks are utilizing them when you come to city council meetings. Ideally, we'd like to see all the meetings interpreted, but we need to actually provide that data to demonstrate to city council and the administrators that, if we provide the services, they will come essentially. So please make sure if you go to the city hall or participate in any city council meetings that you utilize the interpretation headsets that we have. With that being said, I will move into our formal presentations, and our first one will be by Secretary Pete Freeman, and it's reporting street light outages.
Okay, so one of the other issues we have been told about on the west side is that the street lights are dim, and there are standards for different type of streets. Like a residential street, the street lights aren't going to be as bright as, say, the avenue should be. Those are different standards. I don't know what they are, so because I don't think anybody wants their residential street lit up like Dodger Stadium at night. So if it's a little dimmer, that's probably why. But one thing that we can do is when we see street lights that are not working is to report them to Edison. We don't report them to the city. We report them to Southern California Edison, and Edison takes care of them. So I'm going to show you 3 ways to report those lights. I'm going to kind of give you a lot of information. So if you don't catch it or you need some, or you want to talk to me later, I'm available to explain any of this to you. So first way is on the Edison website, and it's sce.com. And bear with me, we got new technology here. So that's the Edison site, and sce.com right there. And it's not working, Marco. Wait. Oh, there it goes. Did you do that or did I do? Okay, so we'll go back to the old technology. And then once you get on the Edison site, you go to report an outage. And next slide, please. And I think you skipped one. No, okay, maybe not. When you go to select an outage, make sure you go to Street Light Outage, because if you select like the other part of it, you'll be telling Edison that the power's out everywhere. So we don't want to do that. We want to just make sure it's a street light. Enter your zip code, hit next, and you should, once you enter the zip code, you'll get the city to choose from. You can choose the city where you live. You just fill in the blanks, enter the address where the street light is out, and then it will ask you for a cross street. So if you have a cross street, put it there. That'll help the street light repairman find it a little bit easier. Then you get a screen that says confirm everything is correct. And once it is, hit next, and then it's going to ask you what the street light's doing. So is it staying on? Is it staying off? Or sometimes you'll see the lights, they'll come on, go off, come on, go off, and that's called flickering. So that's the other option you have on there. So you pick one of those. And if you have the pole number, and I'll show you a couple examples of where the pole numbers are located, you can enter that too. And again, that helps the patrolman to find where that pole is. Next, please. This explains what's going on with the light. If you can put any additional information for the light that you think might help, like behind a house or somewhere like that, anything that you think will help the repairman find it, then go ahead and fill that in. And then this is an example of one of the street light numbers. So it's this one right here. It's about 8 inches tall, and it's a 7-digit number with an E at the end of it. So if you can get that for them, you don't necessarily need it if you give them the address, but if you can give that to them, that helps them find it and get out there and find it and repair it quicker. And that's another 2 examples of the what a streetlight number looks like, or a pole number is exactly what it is. Next. Then it's going to ask you a little personal information, and this is mostly just if they need to contact you, if they've got any questions. I've turned in lights and the patrolman's called me and asked me, well, where is it exactly? I'm having trouble. So it just helps them find it. Sorry, I can't even read this anymore. Well, yeah, would you like to receive notifications from Edison on what's going on with the light? And you can click yes, and you can get it by email, text, or phone call, or you can just say no, and then it'll just go on. But if you want to see what's going on with the light, you can click one of those. And then you're going to have to also check the I agree with the terms box like you do on every website, pretty much. I do it all the time. So verify everything's good and scroll down to the bottom of the page and hit submit your report down here. And then it'll be reported, and hopefully they'll usually get out in like 3 to 4 days to repair them. So that's probably the hardest way to do it, I think. And then the way I usually do it, because I just have my phone, and if I see one out around the area, I just turn it in, is go to the My SCE app. You can get it on your smartphone. Also on all the websites and on the app, they're in English and Spanish, so you can pick your language. Next. Again, you select report an outage. And this is where you got it. You need to again pick street light, or you're going to tell them that the whole town's out of power. And if you click on this, select your current location, it'll use the location you are with your phone. If you're sitting in front of the light, you don't have to enter the address. It'll already know where you are. So that, to me, that just makes it a lot easier than having to fill in the address and everything else. Next. Oh, that's not good. Again, so once you hit current address or current location, it fills in the address, and then you'll have to fill in the cross street. Again, just to help the repairman out there. This is the same as the last one. Select what best describes the light, and it's going to ask you if there's any damage to it. It'll ask you the pole number and any more details that you may have for that. That's a pole number. And that's what it looks like when if you choose to be notified and you choose a text, this is what'll come up for you. So you'll have to put your phone number in, obviously. Click next, and you agree, and you click next to submit. So that one's, to me, a bit quicker. If you have a smartphone and you're sitting in front of the light, boom, 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 takes like 10 seconds and you're done. Then I guess the easiest way of all is to call in and report. And I was going to try this today and I didn't have time, so I apologize. Every time I call Edison, I get put on hold for a long time. So the app may be a lot easier, but I'm sure when you choose this, you'll still need the address and zip code of the light and the pole number if you have it, and all that other information. You'll need to enter that in the phone call. So that pretty much does how to turn in a light. And if we can all do that, believe me, I have a feeling Officer Uribe would like it lit up a little better at times. So I think it'll help the community. So any questions? Wow, I either did really good or I just snowed you. Like I said, if you have any questions, I know that, I kind of went through it quick and there's a lot of info, but come hit me up. I'll walk you through it. Thanks.
Ooh, shocked you. Also there was a note from Lori about how to report the potholes. We do have a video as well on YouTube, and Pete also presented that. So check out last month's meeting video on YouTube, and I also put the phone number for the pothole hotline in the chat as well. I feel funny saying that. Our next presentation is by the Ventura Fire Department's Fire Marshal Brett Reed. The intent of this presentation would be to highlight the fire hazard reduction program and how it impacts residents and has evolved, how the community can be best prepared for wildfire. And there's a long paragraph, but I'll let Fire Marshal do the talking. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Brett Reed. I'm the fire marshal for the City of Ventura Fire Department. And as she said, I'm here to talk about our fire hazard reduction program. And what our program is, it's kind of three-prong approach. It is the community doing their part. It's education. And it's individual homeowners reducing fuel around their homes. And so we'll get in a little bit. Next slide, please. Was that me or was that you? That was you? Okay. So the goals of our program is to increase firefighter and public safety, improve the department's ability to defend your property, maintain trees and vegetation that benefit a property, inspect all 6,200 parcels in our city's very high and high fire severity zones. And as a reminder that the brush reduction deadline is June 1st. Next slide. So this is a screenshot of the fire hazard severity zone maps. And what you see is the red, the orange, and the yellow that comes down. The red identifies the very high fire severity zones. The orange areas represent the high fire severity zones. We do have this map available on the fire department's website, and you can go in, you can type your address in, and it'll come up and identify exactly where you are on the map. So, here we have identified the Bell Arts Factory and City Hall and how that's represented there. This does include this area up here is what is known as the state responsibility area. This area down from about this area down is the local responsibility area. That's what the city of Ventura is responsible for. That SRA, the state responsibility area, is state, and Ventura County has some responsibility for that. So these maps are put out by CAL FIRE and the state fire marshal. So we, as the local agency, we're responsible for adopting the maps. We can be more restrictive in the maps, but we can't be less restrictive. So we have to adopt what the state fire marshal puts out. And they are currently under review right now. The state fire marshal has released some new maps for the state responsibility area. And those are currently under public comment period currently. And they will be releasing new maps shortly for the local responsibility area. And we do anticipate that the very high fire severity zone will increase once those maps come out, but that remains to be seen. Yes, sir.
I know you guys have sorry, what does it mean to be responsible, the responsible area? Because you both got this shared.
The agency that's responsible for that land. So there's in the state responsibility area, the state, CAL FIRE, it could be a contract agency such as Ventura County. So the state responsibility area is either going to be CAL FIRE or Ventura County Fire Department. The local responsibility area is what the City of Ventura Fire Department is responsible for protecting, for enforcing, state codes, etc.
So I guess my question is, if there's a house on the hill over there on fire, you're not going to be like, well, that's the state's responsibility. You're still going to respond to that.
Correct. There's a difference between response and responsibility, right? So fire response, if a house on fire, we have mutual aid and automatic aid agreements. So that's already spelled out. If there's a house on fire, we're going to go put it out. Right. And yeah, I know 30 years ago, there was a lot of, well, that's your jurisdiction. I can't go there. Those walls have been broken down and those agreements are in place through those mutual aid and automatic aid agreements. Okay.
And then the final question on the map, across the river seems to be only high. Is there a reason why it's not as very high?
That's what the state put out. Right. The reason is there's less of a hazard in that area. I mean, quite simply that in the state's research and their models, to keep it simple, that's what it spits out. Right. They put information in, it gets spit out that this is what we see based on the information that you put in. The area on this side is less of a hazard than the area on the other side. It has to do with fuels. It has to do with topography, the threat of wildfire, right? So one side is going to have more of a threat than the other side. And as I said, we anticipate that that's going to shrink. The area of no hazard in there is going to shrink. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So the area in the city that is affected will increase. So to what degree still remains to be seen.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, just stretching. Next slide, please. So defensible space. Defensible space is the area around a structure that is cleared that really serves two purposes. It's going to help defend the structure, and it's going to help firefighters be able to defend your structure from a fire. And when I say it helps defend the structure, it helps defend the structure from fire advancing where it's not being fought by firefighters. Okay. So the general defensible space areas is 100 feet around a structure or to the property line. So a homeowner is responsible to clear 100 feet around their structure. And when I say clear, I don't mean absolutely cut everything down. I mean maintain the vegetation, limb trees. I'll go through a few of the requirements for what that is, but it's maintaining the property, creating separation between shrubs, between tree canopies, the shrubs underneath, taking limbs, taking vegetation away from the structure and creating space around the structure so that there's not a continuous path of fuel for a fire to continue up to the structure. So there are two zones. Zone 1 goes from the structure out 30 feet, and there's more fuel reduction, more maintenance that goes into that first 30 feet. And then from 30 feet out to the remaining 100 or to the property line is less intensive, but there's still requirements that need to be maintained. So next slide. And I'm sorry, go back to that one if you can. So if you look up at this picture here, and you can see how this structure had defensible space. The fire came right up to the area where they had reduced the fuel and the fire stopped. There's three ways. Fire needs three things to continue to grow: fuel, heat, and oxygen. If you take any one of those three things away, the fire's going to go out. The most common way is you put water on the fire, you cool it down, you're taking the heat away from the fire. In this case, what we're doing is we're taking the fuel away. So right here, you see, they just cleared out the vegetation. The fire had no more fuel. It couldn't progress to the structure, right? So they protected their structure right there. That saves fire department resources, right? So now the fire department, if there's another structure that is on fire, they don't have to worry about this house now. This house is safe. So the more we can do around the house to protect the house, the more we're going to free up our local resources. One thing to keep in mind, Ventura City Fire Department, we have 6 fire stations. We are not equipped for an event such as the Thomas Fire, right? We have to have resources, mutual aid, automatic aid come to our rescue. So in that first initial attack, it's crucial that we protect structures. As soon as structures start going, that's going to zap resources from being able to stop the progression of the fire. Sir, you had a question?
Yeah, as I understand, the new fire code that hasn't quite trickled down to local code yet requires no vegetation within 5 feet of structures. And so we have a number of trees within that area, so kind of concerned about that. And is that an absolute requirement, or is it to keep, those trees trimmed up and green?
Right now, you're correct that requirement has not made it into the government code or the fire code. So a lot of the defensible space requirements come directly from the government and public resources codes. It is written into the government code currently about what you're referring to is called zone 0. And that zone 0 is from the structure to 5 feet. It's the best way I could put it. It's a heated topic. And I don't know what direction it's going to go. So it's currently not in any statute. It's written in statute, but it hasn't been adopted. It's not enforceable, and it's probably going to change. But there's a lot of question, a lot of debate, whether it's going to only be for new structures. And what it is a non-combustible zone around the structure, okay? And that would include trees, shrubs, any vegetation in a very high fire severity zone. The question is if it's only going to apply to new structures or existing structures. That hasn't been worked out yet. I think zone 0 is inevitable that we're going to see that come through as statute. And my feeling is that it's going to initially be for new structures and not applicable to existing structures. So in the city of Ventura, we do have in our ordinance for that 5-foot zone. For new landscape installations, you're not allowed to use combustible mulch. Your plantings have to be low growing, fire resistive, and for lack of a better term, not present a tremendous threat to the structure. right? So two things we're trying to prevent: fire being able to get through that continuous fuel to the structure, or from the structure to the fuel and then spread outwards. So it's kind of, we're trying to defend two different things there, right? So stay tuned for Zone 0, stay tuned for the maps, because the maps will have a tremendous impact. I'm thinking the state hasn't given us good guidance on when the maps are going to be released. The best I can make out, it's probably going to be about a year before they get released, before it gets through the public comment period, before it gets back to the state legislature, and then we have to formally adopt it. And once all of those initial processes are finished, we have 120 days to adopt it. So until we formally adopt it, we can't enforce it. So then the old maps would still be in place. Does that get you there? Okay. Next slide. So this kind of spells out the zones a little bit. And you see from the structure, 30 feet is zone 1, and from the structure to 100 feet or to the property line. So next slide. So defensible space. What we want to see is trimming branches 3 feet vertically from your roof line. So if your tree that is close to your structure is overhanging your roof, keep three vertical feet from the roof to the tree canopies, any branches overhanging. Limb your trees 5 feet from the ground. So from the ground, that first branch should be 5 feet or a third the height of the tree. So if you have a smaller tree and you not able to limb it up 5 feet, it should be a third the height of the tree. The intent there is any ground fire that is coming through, we don't want that fire getting up into the tree canopy, because once it gets into the tree canopy, it's going to spread, and it's extremely difficult to fight that at that point. Cleaning up, this is just annual maintenance kind of stuff, is remove leaves, needles, and other vegetation on roofs, gutters, decks, and porches. Fire brands, fire embers will get into gutters and will start a structure fire just from getting into the gutter with pine needles, leaves, debris in your gutters around the structure, etc. Same slide. Remove dead, dying vegetation adjacent to or overhanging buildings, gutters, decks, porches, stairways. So get rid of the dead and dying vegetation. That's imperative. Keep grasses to a maximum of 4 inch. Separate shrubs so groupings are spaced 5 feet. Move large wood piles outside of zone 1. So if you have a large wood pile up against your structure, get it as far away from the structure as you can. That's just, that the wood piles are just a lot of fuel. So next slide. Removing ladder fuels. I mentioned this a little bit ago, is creating separation from shrubs to the canopy of the trees. So if your shrub is 3 feet, you want to create 3 times the size of your shrub. So limb the tree up at that point 9 feet. So 3 times the height of the shrub. And again, that helps keep fire out of the canopy of the trees. Again, removing dead, dying surface and aerial fuels and exposed wood piles down to bare mineral soil. 10 feet of clearance in all directions. So this photo just gives a good example of fuel reduction and limbing the tree here and just removing some of these upper branches. And not only does it create less of a fire hazard, but it's healthy for the tree. If you just look at the difference between the two trees, this tree looks much more healthy than that tree, right? So it's gonna be better for the tree in the long run anyways. So next slide. Good examples of brush management. You can just see the clearance, the separation between the shrubs. And so next slide. And some examples of lack of brush management. I don't think I need to go too far into that, but you can see how all this vegetation is just right up against the structure. Any fire in there is going to ignite that structure. Firefighters have no chance of saving that structure, right? So now you can see how we're giving our firefighters the opportunity to protect your structure, right? Next slide. Another before and after. I think it speaks for itself that I think the neighbor across the street is extraordinarily happy that now they've got the ocean view, right? Where this, again, you've got the weeds, you've got the grasses, just an incredible amount of fuel in there. It's not going to take much for firebrands to get in there, get this little patch of weeds going here, up into this shrub, up into that palm tree, up into that, and we're off to the races. And it doesn't take much to get that going, right? So next slide. So home hardening is a concept of retrofitting your home to new code standards. So there's a lot of existing homes in the city of Ventura throughout the state that weren't built to today's code standards. Home hardening is that concept of upgrading and retrofitting your home. There's a lot of things you can do fairly inexpensively, such as replacing attic vents or any under eave vents, any crawl space vents, anything like that with ember resistant vents. So that is the easiest way to harden your home, is just replacing the types of vents that you have, because again, embers can easily get into the vents. This is a good example of that zone 0 we talked about, and low growing fire resistive plants within that 5 feet, and non-combustible mulch in that area. Next slide. And thumbs up and thumbs down. This is what we refer to as gorilla hair mulch, and this is non-combustible mulch. Again, we in the city, the county has a much more restrictive regulations on mulch than the city does. Our regulation is only within the first 5 feet of the structure. So for a new installation, we would only require non-combustible mulch in the first 5 feet. We certainly would recommend taking that out further. Next slide. And resources for the fire hazard reduction program. is on our webpage. You can contact Fire Prevention Division either by phone or by email. Our website has the fire hazard severity zone map on it that I referred to. Just click on that button if you're not sure what zone you're in, and it'll take you right there. We have a fact sheet for the frequently asked questions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
From a permaculture standpoint, the more the vegetation is moist, the less fire hazard it will be. And so we've had a recent history of drought here. And so from a permaculture perspective, if you can shape the soil in your yard so the rain comes, it'll settle in basins and sink into the, keep your vegetation, and what little rain does fall, you can keep your trees, shrubs, grass, whatever, green longer. Just your risk of fire, plus sequestering more carbon for climate considerations.
Agreed. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's good point. Any other questions? I guess I will touch on our inspection program. So we do fire inspections. I kind of breezed over it. We do 6,200 defensible space inspections a year. Again, that's in the very high and high fire severity zones. Last year, we billed for those inspections, and that billing program was rescinded. We issued refunds for all of those. If you haven't received your checks, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that you do get those refunds. This year, we will continue doing the inspections. We won't be billing for it. That's been removed from the fee schedule, but we will continue with that program. So any other questions for me at this point? Sure. Yes. Yep. So the question was to bring our fire hazard severity zone map back up so that I can point out where we'll be doing the inspections. So here we are. So all the areas that are in the orange and in the red. So it's a little bit hard to see, but here I can kind of make out where the west side along here, this is where the homes go up against the hillside over to City Hall. Yep, that's a good outline right in there. Yep, that's perfect. And if we were to outline it over here, it would go from about here up that way. Yes. And I honestly, that's an excellent question that I feel like this is the high, but I don't recall us doing inspections on the other side of the avenue. I think that it may be in the SRA area, the state responsibility area, and it may not be in our area.
Okay. If you have an opportunity, and I know you're very busy, but if there's any opportunity at any time to pull up a map of basically all of District 1 and circle or identify the fire hazard zone on a map that shows the actual streets and housing?
Yeah,
At any
and-
time that you might have a chance.
And when you look at it on the website, it's much more clear.
Okay.
And as I said, you can go in if there's an address in question, you can type your address in and it'll pull up a marking on exactly where that parcel is and it falls into it.
Okay.
But I will look into it a little bit more and because I'm not sure about the other side of the avenue. And I don't remember us doing inspections on that side. Doesn't mean we haven't been. I just don't remember for a fact.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think the WCC could put it on their website if they had real clarity on it.
Yeah, I'll get that over to you. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
So on, okay. City of Ventura Environmental Sustainability Division, Ariana Rabago, will be presenting about food waste recycling program, and new programs for our residents to receive free compost and mulch.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Rabago. As she mentioned, I work in the city's Environmental Sustainability Division, which is housed in Public Works. And I was here about last year, but we have some updates to our program that I want to share, and then just a reminder about the food waste recycling program. If you see me looking down at my phone, I'm just looking at my notes, not ignoring you all. Let's see. So I want to ask, actually, how many of you are familiar with the food waste recycling program? Can I get a raise of hands? Awesome. Wow, that's impressive. Well, today I'm going to tell you all about that and some other exciting stuff. Next slide, please. How many of you have this container at home? Yard waste container, that's what it's been called. Okay. Next slide, please. Does anybody have this at home? The food waste container? No? Okay, there's not that many out at residential apartments or other properties, but I just wanted to ask. And does anybody not have, this is not a slide, but does anybody not have either of these? Okay, thanks. And you live in the city, obviously you live in the city. Okay. All right, well, next slide. I want to just first start off with an umbrella of how to participate, what we're asking you to do with this program. Most of you are familiar with it, so this is a reminder. We're asking you to place food waste in a secured bag and add it in the existing yard waste container or food waste container. Next slide, please. And I'm going to walk us back even further now in order to get to that point. Of course, as you may all know, being familiar with the program, you want to collect your food waste separately from your trash and other recyclables. You can do this any way you like, but the city does offer free pails for all residents. So if you haven't received one, you can contact us to get yours, and we have our contact information at the very end. And then a reminder that any secured bag is okay. I'll talk a little bit more about the bag in just a bit. And a reminder that all food waste is okay. All food waste, cooked, uncooked, dairy, eggs, bones, shells, you name it. Liquid organics like grease, oil are not accepted. Compostable foodware is not accepted. Stickers and ties, anything that's not food waste is not accepted except for the bag used to contain your food waste. Next slide, please. We've heard a ton of questions about the decision to ask you to bag the food waste. And it was ultimately selected based off the lower environmental footprint and cost of service. to have a fourth cart is an extra cost of service. So that's the alternative to this program. And additionally, it would require more vehicles on the road. So we're giving this one a try. We hope that people will participate in this version of the program, because we don't want to see, the alternative is that the rates would be increased due to needing to use this a separate program, a new program with a fourth cart. And additionally, we are limited to the constraints at our local facilities when it comes to this program. So that's why we have you bagging it and not mixing it in with the yard waste. The yard waste is going to a separate facility where it gets turned into mulch and other products like that. And then the food waste gets sent somewhere else and it gets turned into compost and other soil amendments. I think animal feed as well. Next slide, please. Why does food waste recycling matter? Next slide. I just want to give, this text is so small now that I'm looking at it here. I want to give you some reminders of the importance of this program. When your food waste reaches the landfill, it's usually covered in plastic and then buried even further. And that means it will decompose or break down without oxygen. And when food waste or organic material breaks down without oxygen, it emits methane. And that's a bad thing because methane is a potent, really strong greenhouse gas that's contributing to climate change. And the state estimates, this was a couple of years ago actually, but the state estimates that 21% of all California methane emissions are coming from landfills. So it's really important that we do our best to limit the amount of organic waste, including our food waste that is going to landfills. By participating in this program makes it really easy and low cost. And next slide, please. Oh, one more slide. Thank you. And ultimately, I just want to say that by participating, you can really make a difference. So there's a lot of bad news about climate change, and it can feel really hard to feel like you can do anything about it. But this is a really tangible way, a way that you can actually feel like you're making a difference at home. And it's fairly easy. So please, I'm asking you to participate. It is also the law. I didn't emphasize that so much in this presentation, but a reminder that this is a state requirement. So the requirement on residents is actually to keep food waste out of your trash container. So you can have a backyard compost system at home. You can participate in this program. You can not throw out any food waste because you eat it all and you have animals that eat the rest. However you want to do it is okay, as long as the food waste is not going in your trash container. Next slide. And lastly, we have a brand new program. Y'all are actually the first residents to hear about it. Yeah, it's going to launch very soon, so please stay tuned. But I just want to give you a little bit of information. All residents in Ventura will be able to access free compost and mulch through our new program. We're hearing that it's the first of its kind in the state, so we're really excited about that. You'll be able to either pick up or have delivered large quantities of mulch and compost from Agriman, or we'll have a pile available of compost at the Cornucopia Community Gardens starting very soon. And so if you've got smaller quantities, you can go to the Cornucopia Community Gardens, load it up yourself. If you've got larger quantities, you'll be able to go to Agriman, which is an Oxnard, bring your truck and have them dump, it's up to, I believe, 20 cubic yards. There'll be a whole bunch of details that you'll be able to follow very clearly. But yeah, really excited to offer that. And this is in response to y'all participating in the food waste recycling program. So we're able to create this wonderful soil amendment with the organics recycling program and offer something back to you for participating. Next slide, please. And that's all I've got for today. I would encourage you, if you have social media, to stay connected with us at Sustainable Ventura. This is where we'll be launching our free compost and mulch program. And then if you've got any more detailed questions, please email us at sustainability@cityofventura.ca.gov. I'm the one that reads them, so and responds most of the time. So talk to me there. Any questions?
Yes. Everybody hear me okay? I'll start out by saying, you talked about methane. We all know on the west side, we have enough methane from the gas compression plant already. Getting back to your slide presentation, early on, you mentioned getting a trash can, small bag of trash to put it in the yard waste can, but you didn't show a photograph of the small container that's green with white that most of us have by now. But I think it would help to have a photo of it up there, because people will call to ask for it and they can describe it better that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And another thing is we switched our non-recyclable, non-food waste container, which is green, to a 32 gallon from a 64 gallon, because we hardly put anything in it. And it's $3 less than the $64. So some people could save a little bit of money with that. I guess that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for both of those points. If you didn't hear them, just to make sure, if you're throwing out less now in your trash container, I would encourage you to decrease your size, pay a little bit less.
And I just want to share that if you take that countertop one and store it outside, it will feed the birds. The hummingbirds will come. It becomes a hummingbird feeder.
Oh,
All the nets sit on top and the hummingbirds come and they dive down to
oh my
catch the
gosh.
nets. We have only one, but he's established himself as the territory and dives for the nets and then scares off all the other hummingbirds.
Well, that's one way to do it for sure.
Continuing on biomass, availability of biosolids, the composted waste from the sewage treatment plant. What's availability and current thoughts about use of that in the landscape?
Of taking the biosolids that come out as a byproduct of the waste treatment process, wastewater treatment process. My thoughts on that, I'm not sure. I don't know about the research, and I know we have a contract with some facility to use it right now, and I'm blanking on the details of that. So it is being used and diverted from the landfill. As far as like residential application, I'm not sure. I don't have any information on that right now.
So there's a history of worrying about poopy contamination, and then there was lots of toxins going into the sewers. With the Clean Water Act, what's that, 40, 50 years ago now, that a lot of that, those pollutants in the sewer system have been reduced, so that it may be a better quality product now.
Yeah, interesting. It's a good question.
Hold on. The last one. Talking about the last one. Jan. Jan asks, it's hard to figure out what to do with paper cups and cardboard boxes, like for nut milk, that have plastic coating. They create plastic trash in my compost pile. It has to go in the trash. Does the paper part of that packaging cause a significant methane problem?
You know, we hear that packaging is a really small portion of what is sent to our recycling facility and our landfills. obviously the breakdown of the paper, it's an organic material, so it would create methane. I'm not sure if we have any data on, how much that specific product or other mixed material organic products like something coated in paper and plastic would cause, have an impact on methane emissions. I'm not sure. It's a good question. And I think it's another way to say also that if paper is also organic, cardboard is also organic. So if you have some of those pure materials, keep recycling them. And that'll also help reduce our methane emissions. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, so that was it for our formal presentations. We're on to new business. If anyone has announcements, suggestions, concerns, this is our open comment period. Okay. We got one in the back, and let me see if there's any on. Don't think we have any on Zoom.
So can I give a presentation on Ventura Unified? Would that be?
Come on up.
Let's do it. Hello, how y'all doing? My name is James Forsyth. I am the trustee for Ventura Unified in this district. So that's from the Ventura Avenue all the way up to Oakview, and I've lived on the avenue for over a decade. But Ventura Unified just had its board meeting on the 18th, where we approved our committee oversight. What's it called? Our committee for the Measure E. It's kind of like oversight. Yeah, it's been a long day. It has several. I'm also a teacher too, and we're doing state testing, so my mind is completely gone. But we just had a meeting, a special meeting before then, to look at the district office property and also the Old Avenue School. So those are both properties that fall under our jurisdiction. Those were given to us by, the first one was given to us by Kinko's, but the Old Avenue School was given to us by EP Foster family way back in the day. But as you know, you can see the Old Avenue School needs some a facelift. It hasn't been in used for a very long time. And so what we're doing is we asked our staff to look into how can we best support those properties, meaning that we want to give back to the community in some way with those properties. But the first things first, we have to find a way to rezone them so there could be usable properties. So currently we looked at the district office and we decided or asked staff to advocate at the city council level for a mixed use 2, which goes up to about, I believe, 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet. I'm sorry, stories. And then the Avenue School would be zone mixed use zone 1, which would be 2 to 3 stories. And so there's some, I've been dealing with a lot of questions regarding that. So I just want to bring it up here. There is no official discussion or plans to do anything with those properties. None whatsoever. We haven't even talked about it. We haven't had a meeting about it. All we've done is ask our staff to advocate for those rezoning. I personally have a lot of opinions about those properties. And there is one that's kind of close to my heart. As many of you know, I'm a teacher. I teach special education over in the Oxnard School District. For the district office, it's about 32 acres that we're looking at. I hope that the board will see, and also the council will see, that we need not only low income housing, but we need workforce housing. What I mean by workforce housing, I mean our paraeducators, our bus drivers, our campus security, they all need housing and they need low income housing. So there's a bill circulating through California legislator about providing a grant for those kind of buildings. I don't know if it's already passed or if it's in the mix right now, but that would be a very great opportunity for our district and our city to have the majority of our workforce live in the city. Currently, many of them live in Fillmore or Santa Paula if they're lucky. So that is something that's close to my heart, and I just wanted to share that with you all. Now, with the Avenue School, there's, of course, there's no plans. I personally would love to see that site be used for educational services in some way. So, and again, there's like 20 proposals coming at us for that because it's such a beautiful building, and yet it needs a lot of work. So we'll see what happens with that. And then I have some other more announcements. Anybody have any questions about those two properties that we're considering? Okay, so last, what we have is on May 29th, we're going to have a discussion about our budget, but also about solar panels being erected in one of our high school sites. I believe Ventura High School might be the location. I'm not too sure, but we're going to be looking at solar panels to provide electricity to that site. Finally, we also have the All Ventura Unified School District Student Art Show that's at the Vita Art Center at 5 p.m. on, I have the date here, May 25th. So there'll be a lot of great young artists there. Hope you come support us, support our young students, see their work, give them congratulations, maybe try to buy some under the under the table. I don't know, but these kids have done a lot, and some of the stuff that they produce is absolutely amazing. So it's here. Please go see them. And that's at the Vita Art Center at 5 p.m. Hey, there's any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any information you can share about the fencing of schools or any updates? I know it's accessibility to the schools was the issue, I guess.
So there hasn't been any formal discussion other than the council is going through with a school hardening plan. Next Ventura, I'm sorry, I keep calling it council, the board. The board is going to come back next, I believe, May 9th or the 16th with in conjunction with the Ventura Police Department, a security plan. And I believe, I don't think housing, the fences will be included in that, but it might. But for the most part, Ventura Unified, and just like every other school district, just about every school district, is looking at how we can protect our kids. And what are some of the best ways to do it? And currently we have a fencing over at Loma Vista, and it's receiving some pushback, but the main thing is with us and our trustees, with anybody that works at Ventura Unified, is we put our students' safety first above all. And that's one way we're looking at it amongst others.
Ron, I think you have
Will the solar panels be on the ground, solar shade for parking, or on the roof?
Hopefully shoulders, roof and shade on the
Great,
for the parking lot. Hopefully we're going to see the proposals.
Good.
I'll let you know.
Okay, let me see. I think Lori had maybe a question or a comment. She said, James, open space and parks on those sites too, with whatever purpose is decided. Thank you for representing. Let's have school district cultivate available open space, not less, as it protects its kids. Let's be creative in using those lands for the greater public and keeping kids safe. Thanks. More a comment.
Thank you for that comment.
Any other questions or comments for James specifically? No? Okay.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Does anyone have another comment or something they want to say during this open period? Okay, I just want to say I'm taking my hat off as chair, and now I'm stepping into my role as the program director for the Westside Community Development Corporation. The Avenue School is actually something we're looking at as part of one of our projects. If you guys haven't heard me talk about it before, you're hearing it now. We would like to build a trade school on that property, and we would like to use the historic building and reconstruct it in such a way to restore it to its glory, but also use it to propel us towards a more sustainable future. I've recently partnered with one of the business owners on Main Street. I don't know if you guys know Industry Horror, but we're partnering with them on this effort. Their intention is to operate the trade school as a special needs trade school, but also accept people from our community. So that is something that I will probably be begging the board for me to bring forward to you guys to present. And I'll also most likely be talking about our ADU program to make it basically, you wouldn't have to pull a permit to build a granny flat in your backyard is the intention of this program. And we would offer drawings that are pre-approved in exchange for a guarantee of affordability at one of the lower income levels that our community so desperately needs. So those two programs I hope to bring in front of you as the program director for the WCDC. And that being said, I'll put my chair hat back on, and any other comments, questions? No? Okay. You got one?
Just, yeah, if you haven't signed in, if you came in a little late or something, please sign in so we can know who's been here. And also it helps me try to figure out who asked what question when I go back and review the video.
Yes, I get that. Okay. Let me run. I'll give you my microphone.
Yeah, currently there's some meetings about the sewer outfall into the ocean for the city. And so there's some considerations. There's the Sierra Club's weighing in on with some concerns and so on. And there's a big push by some industrial fish production people to have finfish farms where they grow huge numbers of fish, and it pollutes the water and makes the native fish sick. So we're encouraging people to, if they're weighing in on it, to look at shellfish farming like abalone and such like that, and not the finfish. So if anybody's interested in more information, I can send that to you. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. It looks like Jana has a comment. The city might consider advocating for AB 1222. Can't read. Sorry, guys. 1224. Brian, green jobs workforce development survey aligned with what the development corporate. I love that. Thank you very much. I will. Can you write that down for me, Pete? Thank you. Because don't think I see any more comments on Zoom. Let me double check. I'm looking around the room simultaneously. I think that's it for our open comment period. So with that being said, our next meeting is June 7th at 6:30 again, first Wednesday. Thank you very much, everybody who came and stayed. All the future people watching this, thank you as well. And with that said, I will adjourn the meeting.